Mike Sleeve's Senior Pickleball Report is brought to you by TNC Network. Get ready for an exciting episode of People of Pickleball with Mike Sleeve. We're about to dive deep into conversations with influential figures from the world of pickleball. So let's get it going.
Today we have an interview with the one, the only Lee Whitwell. Lady Gibraltar has joined us, and we will have a conversation with her. She is the two-time MLP MVP, and great conversation, so stay tuned for that. But first, hey, if you like this content, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out our merch page as well. Follow our newsletter because, hey, you don't want to miss anything in the Pickleverse. And check out all the discounts for balls, paddles, and merch in the discount area below. All right, folks, let's get to that interview with Lee Whitwell. Lady Gibraltar, Lee Whitwell just started playing in the Champions Division Senior Pro Ball. Great start. Welcome to the Senior Pickleball Report, Lee Whitwell.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Cool. So before we get into great start to your season, let's talk about how you got into this game. And that's generally where I always start. But give us a little bit of the background athletically before you came into pickleball, and then how the sport sort of found you.
Well, I mean, like everybody, right? We all played real sports before pickleball because, God forbid, pickleball, when we first heard about it, was not a real sport in anyone's eyes.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you know, heavy tennis background, played tennis in college, played volleyball in college as well, played some pro tennis, played beach tennis, you know, amateur boxer, have 6 fights under my belt. So just all around athlete. And, you know, my friend, when we lived in Bend, Oregon, asked me to play in a tournament. And I said, sure. And she said, it's not tennis. And I said, well, is it maybe beach volleyball? I'm in.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And I'm like, well, what are you asking me to play in? Because, you know, it's not tennis or volleyball or anything that I've got a background in. You know, I'm not the person you want to pick. And she's like, it's pickleball. And I was like, well, why would I even do that? Like, that's a sport my dead grandma would play, you know. I'm like, old people play it, you know, who wants to walk out to a Parks and Rec facility and smell icy hot and, you know, see knee braces for days and permed hair. And that in my mind, because, you know, stupidly or, you know, ignorantly, and I think a lot of us had this preconceived notion that it was just an old people's sport because that's what we'd heard. Nobody ever fact checked that. We just heard it and just roll with it. We just ran with it, right? It must be an old people's sport because I've been told it is. Right. And what could possibly be wrong with that statement? You know, she tried every which way to get me to play. And I said, no. And she's like, well, how about if I buy you a case of beer?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why did you bury the lead? You know, it's like, you should have led with that. Like, you just wasted 30 minutes of arguing. And so I said I was in, and I borrowed a paddle. She wrote rental on the paddle, played in my first tournament at a 5-0 level, and didn't know the rules, didn't know anything, was in, you know, complete violation all the time, but never had such a great experience competing.
That's saying a lot.
It was just, I was like, I can't wait to do it again. And she's like, we're playing another match in a little bit. And I'm like, oh, we play multiple matches a day and the whole event happens in a day. What is this madness? And then you look around and you see, you know, people with their tents and their coolers and communities just kind of intermingling. And it's like, there's something more here than just pickleball, right? For sure. And that's, you know, the competition definitely got me hooked you know, I've been an athlete my whole life and I love to compete, but also just the community, the friendships, the big backyard that everyone was a part of. That's, I think, was the magic that kept me coming back because it's, you know, I've always said that one of the things as adults that we forget, you know, we always are in these I shoulds, right? You got to go to school, you got to then go to college and get a job and have a family, and blah, 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 right? And somewhere along the line, we get caught up in the I shoulds of the world and we forget how to play. And for the first time in a lot of adult people's lives, they're playing, which is why you sometimes hear childlike laughter on courts from adults and grown people, right? And you see this interaction because for the first time in their lives, they're actually playing again and going back to their youthful self. And that is magical,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I learned from a case of beer.
Right. Well, hey, that's quite a lesson. Obviously, you hit on a couple key points. People like to should all over each other. That's for sure. Everybody's always shoulding. And the communal aspect and bringing it sort of back to beach volleyball. When I first started playing volleyball, 2-person in the sand in the 80s, kind of the heyday was starting to happen with the AVP tour and you could still get your lawn chair on championship court and put it in the sand and sit right next to the lines where Tim Hovland was, or St. John Smith, or Carolyn Kirby, whomever was out there. And it was really cool. And there was people, you were drinking beer and you didn't have to pay to get in, and you walked up. And so I think we're sort of seeing some of these changes, because I came into pickleball like a lot of people did during COVID. But when I came in, it was already sort of gentrified in some level on the professional level. And I would watch videos on YouTube from 2016 and people putting their car lights to light the court. And I'm like, that's the era I wanted to be in. That's the way I wanted to get on board then, because that's when it was really, really cool. Before all the, contracts for paddles and in ball contracts and all that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I get it. People, want to make a living and do things, but there's something about that communal organic thing, which you mentioned, that backyard feel of just setting up a net and having your friends and a lot of shit talking and beer spilling.
100%. And it's like, you go back to tournaments originally, right? It's like tournaments ended around 5:00 and then everybody played rec. It didn't matter who you were.
Yeah.
Right. Whether you were 2-0 or open player, right? Because there was no pro at the time. And you all played, and then you would all go out to dinner together. Yeah. And it's so fun. And I think, and I say this all the time, it's like what Pickleball's done is it's tapped into the basic human need, which is, we want to feel like we're a part of something, that we belong, right? And Pickleball's given that to so many people. They're a part of a community. They belong there. They it's like, you don't show up to the courts of the week, then you show up, you're like, hey, where you been? It's like here, I live in the villages, and it's like, I'm travel a lot, but I go down to the course to drill, and they're like, hey, Lee, where have you been? I haven't seen you. I'm like, I've been gone for work. They're like, but you're not injured, are you? No, I'm not injured. When's your next tournament? I can't. And it's so, it just, it does fill you up. Yeah. And it's the same as I'll see some of the guys, I'm like, hey, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. What's happened? And they're like, you noticed? I'm like, everyone notices. You're part of our group. Right. And the pickleball group is not level specific at the rec level, right? It's everybody. Yeah. And that is, I know that at the pro level, it's, we accelerated very quickly. We've grown, and there's a lot of tension among the different pro tours and all that. And, I don't think we're quite at the level where we need to be for the money that's in the sport right now. Right. We're not, it's out of sync, but I don't want it to affect the rec level. I don't want it to affect grassroots pickleball, because that's where the magic is happening. I agree. There's like 200, 400 pro and senior pro combined. There's 10 million other players playing rec. Yeah. And most of those people don't even know there's pro ball. I can tell you, I did a clinic one time, and I walked on the court and I was like, man, where's the pro? Like, who is this Lee Whitwell? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, it's 10 after. And the clinic started at noon, and it was 10 after 12. And I'm like, it's 10 after. This is so rude. These pros are so freaking entitled. Like, what is wrong with them, right? And I got everybody riled up, and then one of the organizer walks by, he's like, hey, Lee, you ever going to get started? And they're like, wait, you're the pro? And it was just to prove a point that it's like, we're so irrelevant in 90% of the pickleball world. Yes. And that's okay, and it's humbling, and it needs to be that way. Because I say all along, the only reason I have a platform, the only reason I have fans is because we sit on top of amateur tournaments, and they are there filling the seats and watching us play. Yeah. And we should never, ever lose sight of that. No, and I think you make a great point. Obviously, it's the grassroots that built this sport, and it's the people that come and watch too. So that's the, maybe the disconnect a little bit that we can make, see if we can make that happen. People that love pickleball and that play, you always hear the numbers of whatever the numbers are, tens of millions of people. And, will those people gravitate and watch someday at the pro level? That's the big question. I don't know. I hope so, because I enjoy watching pro pickleball, because it's the highest level. And if you played this game at all,
you realize what's going on out there is incredibly difficult to do. What I appreciate about you is when I watch you play, number one, you're always having fun. You're entertaining. And two, you have as good, I can tell you've played other court sports because you have as good court sense as anybody I've ever seen. In any sport, you just know where you are and you know where your opponents are. And I've just never seen somebody play with such joy and yet make people look so bad doing it.
You have to have a bit of a sick and twisted mentality to just want to do that to people, you know?
Yeah. It's just a blast to watch.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy that cat and mouse game a lot. And thank you. That means a lot that's recognizable. But yeah, it is a lot of fun to play. And I feel like every time I step on the court, it's a privilege. And
sure,
if people are watching, I want to bring them along on that journey. They are the reason why I have a platform. So they get to come on that ride with me. And I want them to feel like a part of my ride. And I want them never to feel like I'm inaccessible. Right. So it's that. And, but I say, will pickleball be a spectator's sport? I don't know. I think to a certain population, it will, but to a lot of people, I think here's the problem with pickleball. They can tennis. I can tell a tennis player, a 3-5 tennis player is a 3-5 tennis player from every shot they hit. Yeah. A 3-5 pickleball player can have a 5-0 moment.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Makes them a 5-0. Right?
Right.
I can miss a dink, just like a 3-5 can miss a dink. And it's a basic mistake because for whatever reason, I just kind of brain melted and wasn't concentrating. And I dumped a stupid ball in the net or the spin and the ball or the wind, whatever. Right. But you don't see that on the TV. You just see a basic mistake happening at the kitchen. You're like, well, I make that all the time. It's not that hard, And it's unfortunately, the nuances of pro pickleball don't translate that well on screen to the living room, right? So I think that a lot of people can be like, well, I've hit an ATP or I've hit an Ernie, I've hit a serve winner. I've done this, I've done that. I've hit somebody, with a ball. I've been able to block the ball. So I think sometimes that gets a little bit lost, but and that's where I think the disconnect is from really understanding what the higher level game is all about.
I would agree. I mean, you watch it and, part of it is because people like yourself and Ben Johns and people that just move very fluid, they just make it look so easy. And I know like I've had very limited experience playing with against pros. I was in a rec gym in San Diego and Rod Cassidy and Chris Miller walked in and I knew who they were because I had this channel and I pay attention, to pickleball and things like that. But nobody in the gym had a clue who these guys were. And so they played like the first 3 games together and like nobody scored on them. Right. So I walked up and I said, hey guys, I know who you are, blah, blah, blah. Great. Nice to meet you. Let's split you up. And so I ended up playing with Mills against Rob and then a local woman. And that's when I realized what they could do when they wanted to do it. Because I would be in points and I'm like, I could play with these guys. Right. And then something would happen. Like I would speed up on Rod and it would just come back and hit me. And I was like, oh, that works on everybody I've ever played against except you. And then he would, he didn't miss a drop. He never drove a ball unless he wanted to drive it at Mills and mess with them. But he would just drop every single ball from no matter where it was on the court into the kitchen. And he's playing on a gym floor with, one of these, bouncy balls. And still, I was like, man. And then the game went on and people started to notice like, oh, these guys are, I was like, that's when you really get a sense of how good it is. But you're right. On television, I don't know if it's ever going to translate. I don't know if they have the cameras right yet. They do sometimes. And the speed of the ball is picking up, obviously, from the technology. So that may change, obviously, the difficulty as far as it appears aesthetically to people as well.
Right. And the other thing, too, is like, your drops look very basic. They're soft shots.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, but what people don't see is the hours of practice that go into making it look so easy. Right. They don't see the drilling. They don't see the paddle throwing behind closed doors because you're having a bad day. Right. But also at the same time, I mean, look at a tennis match. Right. You look at a tennis match on TV and I hate when people compare pickleball to tennis, and I'm doing it myself, but you can get an appreciation for how hard they're hitting the ball.
Right.
And then you go watch that same match live and you're like, oh, the TV didn't do it justice.
No.
It's way faster in real life.
But
the ball slows down on TV. So, I've had times when I've there's certain points where I'm like, oh my God, my hands are on fire. I want to go back and see that firefight again. And I look at the firefight on TV and I'm like, I swear it was way faster in real life.
Yeah. Right.
It looked like the most slow thing ever. And it's like, so it doesn't, the TV itself, when you're streaming, it doesn't do the sport justice either, because it slows it down. So it looks, when somebody gets hit by a ball, it looks like they just have very delayed reflexes, right? Yes. And that's not the case. That ball is getting pummeled at you in a very short distance, but it slows down on TV and it makes us look sometimes sillier than we may want to be.
Sleeves here, Senior Pickleball Report powered by TNC Network. Just finishing up a practice session, the world's worst pickleball courts, and been playing with these bad boys for a while. Crown Pickleball, link in the description. Check these out. Great ball. I haven't cracked any yet. Of course, I'm an old man, but really cool ball. Coming pink and this color. They got outdoor, indoor, and I think they're going to be a major player in pickleballs because people are starting to kind of gravitate towards this ball. I know the podcast King of the Court, they love them. I love them. People are talking about them. People are giving them away with their paddles because they know it's a reliable, solid ball. So check out Crown Pickleball. New player in town, and man, they came out with a bang. So love it. All right, folks. Hey, at the end of the day, let's pickle. Sleeves here with the Senior Pickleball Report, reminding you to check out our podcast, People of Pickleball. That's where I speak with all the people in pickleball, the industry, players, team owners, apparel creators, people that run organizations, people that create apps, you name it. We're talking to them on People of Pickleball. It's in the playlist of our YouTube channel. It's our podcast. Check it out. Lots of good information there, and lots of really cool folks doing amazing things. You can also catch our podcast on Spotify and Amazon. Check out the link in the description. Does the amateur game, does it need a successful pro version?
No, I mean, I've always said that the pro game could die tomorrow and pickleball would still be the fastest growing sport at the amateur level. Because it's the one true sport, and I'm hard pressed to find another sport, honestly. And I did challenge myself to come up with a sport for a while, but I couldn't. That has transcended age, political affiliation, white collar, blue collar, money, sex, able, disabled, you name it. It's transcended everything. Like, where else can you take a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 children, give them an hour lesson, and they're rallying within 10, 15 minutes and they're playing. Like
in their driveway.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's very, like you can see your progress very, very fast. And if I go play tennis with a 3-5, it's a nightmare. I have to change all my shots. When I play pickleball with a 3-5, maybe I don't hit as much topspin, and maybe I hit a little bit flatter, but I can always work on something. I can work on directionality. I can work on things, and I'm not having a miserable time because we're not chasing balls the entire time. Right? The rallies still happen, and you can control those rallies and help those rallies be longer as the better player. But where else does that happen? That you can get schooled by 75-year-old Betty with 2 fake knees, a fake hip, 3 knee braces, and a fake eye. And like, she's like, you come off the court going, what happened? Like, I just lost 11-2, 11-3, and I don't know what happened. Right.
I don't know if Jeannie Bouchard knows she had to pick up her own balls. It seemed like when the first time that happened, she had to go. She's like waiting for somebody to grab her the ball. And I'm like, oh, you have to go get it yourself. So that's what I sort of like about the game. I do not like that we're always looking for the one ball. Like, can we just switch it up?
I know. And it's like, listen, the ball does not have a long lifespan. Like, we could probably have, a ball in each corner. Right. But it does speak to the sort of the infantness or the toddlerness of the age of the sport. And even though it started in 65, right? And it's been around for a while, it's only recently, caught all this speed, just, maybe a year or 2 pre-COVID, and then definitely COVID accelerated it. Right. But we're still a fairly young sport. And I think you see things like that where somebody coming in from another sport is like, what do you mean we don't have ball boys? Or, You know, like I have to bring my own drink. Why isn't like, hang on a minute, like, carrying my bags. Oh, we don't bring bags on the court. Like, it's just, you know, it's very, very different, and it speaks to its own uniqueness. And I hope that it keeps being unique and they don't keep changing and manipulating it to be another sport, because it's its own sport. You know, I always said it's own quirky thing. Yeah. If badminton, table tennis, and tennis went out and had, you know, got drunk and had a one night stand, you know, and a baby was born, no one knows who the father is.
Right. Exactly.
It's like three men and a baby. That's what pickleball is, really.
Right. But with better acting. Right. Yes.
Well, yes, exactly. Sorry, Steve Gutenberg.
Exactly. So, let's move into really your entrance into, because this is the Senior Pickleball Report, into senior level pickleball, 50 plus. Because every year, you know, last year we Althoff came along, and obviously this year, and you come along, and Deacon comes along. So it's sort of this endless talent pool, which I love about the senior game, because each year you get people who are well established and have name recognition, which is great. And you being, you know, two-time MLP MVP, talk about making that transition. I don't know what you're going to do as far as your playing schedule. We could talk about that, but obviously a great start in Florida. So talk a little bit about the start, and then kind of what you wanted to see happen throughout the year for yourself.
Yeah, it was, you know, it's one of those things where it's a year you're 50. So I'm technically cheating this year because I have a late December birthday.
Right.
So I'm playing at 49. Deacon is doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it started with Althoff. Like, Althoff was the first guy, and I think I'm the first female to come into the pro game with a heavy pro experience.
Yes.
Right. So we've played 2 or 3 years in pro, and now we're transitioning into, you know, I think the biggest thing was I looked around and I'm like, oh my God, who are all these old people? And then I realized I was one of them. Right. Like, that was the rude awakening. You're like, I'm now one of them. Great.
Great. You're the freshman now.
Yeah. It's something that it's, and I think I've got about 4 to 5 years of no women coming in unless we get a convert from another sport. So I've got a bit of breathing room before I've got somebody breathing down my neck. But no, it was fun to play. I've got great partners. Look, I was snapped up early last year when people knew January wasn't going to happen. Yeah. And it was good, right? And thankfully it started off the right way, and the year-long commitment to these partners is working. Yeah. It would suck if we went 0-2.
1-2 barbecue.
Exactly. But no, I mean, honestly, look, I've said from the beginning, it's, you know, senior pickleball has its place. There are a lot of people who relate to senior pickleball. And if I can help make senior pickleball sexy and exciting and fun, then I definitely want to be a part of that and have a front row seat at helping shape that. Will I still play pro? I'm definitely going to, my women's partner can't play a ton of events. So on the events that she can't play, if I don't have a woman, that I gel with and I think, we can win. Because I mean, yes, I have fun playing, but at the end of the day, I want to win.
For sure.
I can play regular mixed pro and senior mixed pro at the events, right? Because of the days that they're on. Right. So yeah, it's going to be fun. Just, this journey and, you know, it's always good to win again. Last year was a bit of a rough year. Yeah. So, you know, I think I got on the podium maybe twice, which is terrible. You know, those odds suck. Yeah. So this one to come out with a double gold right out the gate, you know, felt good, and hopefully I can sustain it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do during the year, because what I've noticed in having not obviously been in either community, the open pros or the senior pros, because I follow the senior pros, what I did notice is that they compete hard, and obviously they want to win, and they're as competitive as anybody else out there. But at the end of the day, you know, it was, you know, for the last few years, it's been kind of a small group of people and trying to figure out, you know, who wants to support them and what tour they can play on. But at the end of the day, they hung out. Which we talked about earlier in the conversation, and they have a good time. And even though they're, you know, they pound each other, you know, on the court, but at the end of the day, they're having dinner and they're having drinks. So that part of it reminds me of the stuff I missed, like when we were talking earlier. So I'm excited to see your involvement in that as well, because I think, you bring a huge personality and talent to the senior pool, which I think it's going to be a blast for you. And it seems to me the senior pros have more choices than probably the open pros of where they want to play. I mean, there's leagues, multiple leagues, there's tours, there's their own tours. So talk a little bit about seeing the growth over the last year or two about really the opportunities for senior pros, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think there was a while where nobody knew what was happening for senior pros, right? Because the pro side was taking off, and people were like, "Well, there's no room for senior pros," and does anybody really watch senior pro, right?
Right.
And I mean, you can see the argument for both sides, but I like that senior pro has a place in pickleball. And, do I like the fact that there's NPL, there's, you can play APP, you can play on the senior tour. And I think PPA also has seniors, right? But what I don't like is, and I might get in trouble for this, but that's okay. Like NPL, I love the concept. I love what they're doing, but they want you to sign an exclusive. And I'm like, at senior pickleball, none of us are doing this for a living. Let's not sign an exclusive. Your events are not on competing weekends. You're not going up against a tournament. They're on different weekends. Let players play on the APP Team Cup, on the, as well as the NPL.
Because we've seen what exclusivity contracts have done to Open Pro.
Exactly. And that's my point. I'm like, why, we like the children are fighting. We're supposed to be the adults in the room. And yet now we've created the same mess. And I'm like, why? We don't need it, And it's like, well, but all the best players are playing NPL. I'm like, that's great. But I don't believe in exclusivity. It's the sport is too small, too new. There's not many of us to go around. What are we doing? Yeah. And I think that's the only blemish I have on the senior tour right now.
Right.
I wish they didn't have exclusivity. I wish we could play any and all events. And honestly, I wish collectively we all got together and say, how can we grow senior pickleball and support the tours that are supporting us and move forward with that? Because collectively now, if there's more people playing, there's more sponsors, there's more money, there's all of the above, right?
Yeah.
But in my mind,
we'll see. Obviously, like anything else, it's got to shake itself out, and we'll see what happens. I know it's interesting when because I was not aware of the exclusivity, because I do know some people that are what I would call pretty diehard NPL people that did play in the first APP event, and I'm pretty sure, unless it's like all these nuances in contracts, like PPA has, like, where some people can go, they have something in their contract where they can go play an APP or something like that. I don't know that. I don't know the inner workings of that, nor do I really want to know the inner workings of that because those are relationships that, those people got to work those things out. But it'll be interesting to see that where this goes, if that is indeed the case. And it might be the case for the higher level players and the more notable names too. I don't know, but it's an interesting point you bring up, because I wouldn't want to see it. I wouldn't want to see it go that way either, because I think we've seen what happens.
Right. Like nothing good has come of exclusivity.
No.
And it's like, look, let's learn from the mistakes. Let's not create the same ones. Right.
Right. So let's talk about what you got coming up on the near future for your schedule. Some events you're looking forward to playing, and we'll get you out of here soon.
Yeah. I got a heavy tournament schedule, primarily playing a lot of APP events. And looking forward to those, playing senior doubles with Angela and senior mixed with Jaime Onsens, and playing Daytona with John Sperling, because Jaime is being, he's got real job duties, and he's the Brazilian Davis Cup captain for tennis. So he's going to go captain, and, I don't get to play that event with him. It's a bad scheduling. I asked them to move the event, and he's like, I don't think
Sperling's not a bad sub.
No. Yeah. And he's like, Davis Cup is bigger than the APP, and I'm like, fine.
Okay.
Sperling lives here in the Villages too. So I practice with him a lot, and I'm looking forward to playing with him. Right. Excited to see Yvonne Lendon get on the pickleball.
Yes.
He's playing in Daytona.
That's fun.
Yeah. I'd love to see what he's going to do on the court. And, he was a good tennis player, but let's see if it translates to pickleball and if he's embraced the differences of the game versus getting frustrated because tennis is a more technical game, right? I'm teaching some camps, some clinics. You'll probably see me on a couple of pickleball cruises. We're working out details there.
Exciting.
It's just a lot of exciting stuff. I launched a company, Absolutely Pickled, with a good friend of mine halfway through last year, and now we have a podcast, and we always have interesting guests on. I always say I want the interesting people in the pickleball world, not necessarily the champions of the pickleball world, right? And doing some fun stuff around that, and just wanting to continue to champion the sport and help grow the sport however I can, and have a front seat at helping change people's lives. Because at the end of the day, pickleball is doing so much positive good. That's a terrible. You'd think English was not my first language, but no, pickleball has had such a positive effect in so many people's lives, and to be able to have a small part in that, it's truly is an honor.
Yeah, I love it that you're doing a lot of different things, and they all come back to really, having a good time and competing hard. And, it's cool. I'm really excited to see where this game goes over the next couple of years. Obviously, there's some movies and things coming out finally about pickleball, and obviously, if they can figure out the tours and how everybody can kind of cooperate and play together nicely, so to speak. I think it's got a great future on the pro end. Obviously, the amateur end is just a freight train, just blowing up, and people love this game. I introduced somebody to it, almost seems like monthly, that shows up, and I live in the middle of nowhere. So
and it's like, if you think about, like, I came to the sport 5 years ago, right? And it's like I'd heard of pickleball, but I was like, whatever, it's for old people. And then you talk about, people like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I play pickleball. They're like, what is that? And then over time, it's like, oh, I've heard of it. Then it's, oh, I know somebody who plays. Oh, I play. I love pickleball. And it's like, at the rec level, there are people who play. They're truly addicts.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't love pickleball that much. I'll go out and play and drill and be done. And I will not go out a second or third time that day. I know people that do, and I know people that will play.
My body won't let me anyways, but I won't want. I have other things to do. I have to day drink.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, listen, I've done my exercise, and now where's my beer? Because win or lose, we drink beer.
That's right.
But no, it's so amazing to see how so many people have taken to the sport in a crazy. Yeah. Slightly super crazy way.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I saw, like I mentioned, I saw beach volleyball blow up, but it was nothing like this. This is. It's very cult-like in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And I understand if you're looking from the outside, people are like, what the hell are you doing? And why are you so excited about this? So I get that aspect, but my biggest thing is like, where is this going? Right.
And I think it's like, pickleball is a bit like Vegas, right? You go to Vegas and you'll only see the people that you see in Vegas. You don't see them anywhere else.
Right.
With their outfits and everything that they're doing. You see them in Vegas, and like pickleball is like no matter where you go on whatever pickleball club or Parks and Rec, wherever you are in the world, like you have the same characters.
Yes.
They only exist in pickleball. They don't exist anywhere else. And I'm like,
yes.
You go to Vegas?
It's like the Matrix.
Yeah.
Well, before we get you out of here, anybody sponsorships you want to mention? Anybody you want to talk about before we let you go?
I do like that hoodie you're wearing. Seeing, I'm a hoodie person, so I'm gonna have to steal that hoodie one of these days. I have amazing sponsors that last year was a very rough year, and I was lucky that my sponsors stuck by me. I play with the Legacy paddle, right? Chris at Legacy and Chris and John at Legacy are amazing, and they will, they've been extremely loyal to me, and I love that.
Awesome. Yeah.
The guys at my paddle, they create the little bands that go around the top of the grip,
right?
And so I do have an array of insults to positive, right? I think I have, I've got Canoe, Muppet, you effing idiot, to, breathe, good vibes.
Right. To get diversity.
laugh. I have
right.
the whole, and it's like, you're like, what paddle am I playing with today? And then somebody asked me, like, what did your band say on the tournament you won? I said, well, one of them said douche canoe and the other one said Muppet. Those are my inspirational bands for my tournament.
Canoe.
Anytime I come up with a unique insult, I send it to them and they make me some, and I put them on right away. So I love that.
Those are brilliant.
Yes, it's because it is also a nice gentle reminder to not take it so seriously, because at the end of the day, we're hitting a plastic ball, and
exactly.
I never thought, like, in my late 40s, because I'm not yet 50, or approaching half century, that I would get paid to do this. Come on.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
This is insane.
It's insane. You're going to get to go on cruises. You're going to get to teach. You get to get paid to play. People are giving you equipment. I mean, what the hell's going on?
Perspective, right?
Right. Exactly.
So it's like, my friends at My Socksy Feet keep me in their fun socks. They make them the funnest mismatched socks ever. And cool. It keeps, and I've always felt like in corporate America, the only way you can make a statement is through your socks, because nobody else can see it in your corporate wear. So,
that's exactly right.
Socks are always a thing. But I've got great sponsors, and looking forward to announcing new partnerships this year.
Right on. Well, the common theme in most of these interviews that I do, and it seems to come through in yours as well, is people are just grateful. It's a cool thing, and you're grateful to have it in your life. So I appreciate your time, Lee. I look forward to watching you play and destroy all the seniors this season. And mock them, please, as you do it, because I love it. And
I will give you a nod and say I was told.
That's right. I mean, I know a lot of them, so it's okay. Sleeve said you can do it.
Yes.
And again, thank you. And looking forward to hanging out sometime, maybe on a cruise ship.
Absolutely. And then you know what? I think I need a T-shirt that says Sleeve said I had to.
Right on. I'm going to get you something.
Sleeves told me to. And then it's like a waiver.
There we go. It is a waiver. Don't throw anything at me. All right, Lee. We'll see you down the road. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it. You have a wonderful evening.
Hope you enjoyed our interview with Lee. You can find all the information about her sponsors, her website, follow her on Instagram, all below in the description. And again, hey, consider subscribing to the newsletter and check out our merch as well and all the discounts. All right, folks. Hey, at the end of the day, let's pickle.